Welcome, everyone. This is the 7th of July, 2021. Welcome to the BobCast. And I see all my favorite friends here. Here we go. There you go. Amazing, wonderful people. I'm sitting in my studio here that we're trying to get set up for a beginning of some major social media blast. So
Okay. 8th of July.
we got some new lights going on the sides. And how you doing, Ali?
Hi.
Yeah,
Today's 8th of July, I think.
yeah, 8th of, oh, did I say June? 8th of July. Is it the 8th?
Yeah, it's the 8th of July.
It's the 8th. That's right. You're right. It's the 8th. Hello, Jazz. Good to see you. So we're within the next 30 days. I'm going to be set up more. I've got my microphones all set up here now, and so things are getting set up for a more professional BobCast. So welcome, everybody. Let me just tell you what I've been doing over the last little bit. Obviously, we've had 4th of July for those of you who are in the UK and the United States, and we celebrated that. I hope your celebration was delicious. You had lots of fun. Those of you who celebrated that holiday. And where did you go? What did you do? What does freedom mean to you? It's been leading up to that time, little busy for me, and I've been preparing for a broadcast that I talked a little bit about last week on the Inner Circle conversation. It's called The Psychology of Money, and I was invited to teach that for the first time I've ever taught it this way to a group in Italy. And so July 7th, yesterday, I spent 4 hours on a Zoom call with Italy. And then this morning, for another 4 hours, I completed the conversation about money. We first talked about the success. What does it take to be successful? In order for you to succeed at money, wealth, you need to have habits of success. You have to learn how to think about success in order to apply that to anything else in your life. And if you want to apply the success principles to money, fine, you can apply principles about wealth. If you want to apply success principles to relationships, then figure out what is the system for making a relationship better. What about health? Wherever you apply the principles of success, you figure out what it is you want, what system you need to learn in whatever you're trying to create, whatever you're trying to build. And you learn that system and apply the principles of success to it. So I used a metaphor, which I'm going to share with you today. The inner circle is about getting organized and focusing in on what we want to accomplish in 90 days. This call, the BobCast, is kind of a broader concept, a broader conversation. And so let me share with you what I shared with my group this morning. And the reason I'm doing that is because, well, as soon as I create something, I want to share it. I want to show people what I've created. So let me bring it up here. Okay. Here we go. So the first time I ever shared this concept in more depth was this morning. Although I've talked about the skyscraper of wealth before in a program I called the Wealth Legends. And what I'm trying to share from this metaphor is that anything you build in life has a foundation, and the deeper the foundation, the taller the structure. And if you want your structure to be stable and to be long lasting, then you need to build a stronger foundation. So the question I want to ask you is, what do you do to build a strong foundation in your own life based upon what you want to create? So the word piles is a word we don't hear very often. It's usually applied to something else, but the word, technically the word is piles, and that's when they dig the deep foundational pillars that they drive into the ground. I have used the word pylon, but when I Google pylon, it doesn't mean what I'm thinking it means. But so we'll use the word piles, and a pile, the foundation piles, whatever structure you're trying to create, it has a foundation, and it usually drives these piles deep into the bedrock so that it has stability attached to it. So let's take some of the tallest buildings in the world. What do their piles look like? So they have to have deep piles to build a tall pile, right? So we have some big tall buildings here. This is the Shanghai Tower, which is unbelievable. And guess how many foundational piles there are for the Shanghai Tower? There are 980 3-foot thick piles that are driven into the bedrock down to 282 feet below the ground. So before you ever go climbing the building, taking the elevator up to the top, realizing that there's hundreds of feet deep work that they did to get to the ground level. And so usually with success, there's a lot of it doesn't look like it's success because there's a lot of building and depth digging before you can start to build your edifice. And when it comes to the tallest building in the world, I think this is in Dubai, it has 192 foundation piles, each 5 feet thick, down to a level of 164 feet into the basement. And one day I want to go to the top of that one. Anybody been to the top of this one? If anybody's been to the top of any of these, come out and let me know. Have you been to any of these buildings? Nobody?
Been to the one in Shanghai.
The Shanghai Tower? Who was that?
Me, Tanya.
Tanya. Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Yeah, it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been to, I've been to some of them.
I was at the Trade Center.
You've been to which one?
The World Trade Center.
The brand new one, Diane?
Yes.
Wow. Well, these are the ones that I've been to the top of. Taipei, which is called the 101 in Taiwan. The Guangzhou Finance Center in Guangzhou, China. I'm also been to the top of, the Shenzhen, China. So anyway, the One World Trade Center that Diane said she'd been to. I've been to the Shenzhen, China, top of that one. Have not been to the one in Mecca. That looks interesting, doesn't it? And I've been to the Shanghai Tower, but that's it. In terms of, this is the Taiwan one. This 101 floors. When you get to the top, they take a picture of you climbing to the top on the outside. And then you get to look out over the city when you're done. And this is Taipei. And then the World Trade Center. Diane, you've been to the top of that one. I've actually only been to the bottom. It hadn't yet been open when we went. So we stood at the bottom of the base and looked up to the top. Isn't that amazing? So I took this photo when you're looking up into the sky. But one day, shortly, I want to go to the top of that one. And this is the Shanghai Tower. second tallest building in the world, it says, as of May the 2016. And this is it. Now, this one here, and that looks really small by comparison, but when I went to the top of it, these two had not been built yet. And this was one of the tallest buildings in the world. And then they built this one. I went to the top of that one and looked down on this guy. And then they built this one. And then I get to look down on that one and that one. The Shanghai Center is just staggering, stunning, huge. And I'm in one of them looking down. I'm in the tallest one looking down on the second tallest one right there.
Oh, wow.
And this is looking out over Shanghai, and looking down on the left-hand side, that's the lowest of the three. And this is taken from the second one, taken down to the first tallest one. And then this is one taken from the tallest one. And it's just wonderful to see what gets created out of nothing. There's nothing but ground before. And then somebody had an idea, they had a dream. They pull together a team and they figure out how to create streams of income from it, right? And in other words, let's create the tallest tower in the world. And for a short while, it was the tallest tower. And then it got superseded by the one in Dubai. But the question I'm asking you today is, what are the foundation pillars or piles of success and wealth? So if you're going to drive deep foundations, what do you build on, I guess, is the question I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to go into the chat here. And so just think about it. You may think of different things that I have thought of. That's why I'm asking your question. What is the foundation that you're going to build on? Because most entrepreneurs don't build foundations. They just launch. They just start. They start building, and they kind of hope to create a foundation as they're building. And usually that's failure. Usually they fail because they don't have a foundation. And 90% of the businesses that start today will be out of business within 10 years or less, 5 years or less. So why? Because they didn't take the time to build a foundation. They wanted to get started. They wanted to be first. They didn't want to lose out. And so they essentially did lose out because they started and it failed. And somebody else comes along and takes and builds a better foundation and takes the idea they had and goes off and builds it. So what are the principles of the foundation building of success and wealth? And you can tell me both of them are the same, whatever. But I want everybody here to tell me what you think must be part of the foundation that you build success in anything in life, or wealth in life. So I'm going to go into the chat. Everybody who's on the call today has got to respond somehow. So tell me in the chat, what do you think it is? Good. Keep it coming. Yeah, commitment. There we go. Tanya says myself. Yeah. Honesty, integrity upon a business plan. Good. A congruent team, commitment, a clear goal, passion, determination, goals, vision, plan, curiosity, imagination, knowledge, experience, sifting, action, evaluation, redo and build upon what you've learned, right or wrong, confidence, clarity, commitment, tenacity, commitment, willingness, complete intention, your core principle, mindset, strategy with operational plans to get things done. Before they dug a yard of earth, I'll bet the plans were finished for this building. They knew exactly what they wanted to build. They knew who they wanted to build it. They know when they wanted to build it. And then they started to dig, and they dug down 192 feet to get to the tallest building. A spiritual foundation. It fills a need within a specific community. Helping others, core values, energy, goal, plan, commitment, good relationships with context, purpose, visio, base of dreams, clarity, confidence, and commitment, faith in the long term, evaluate, test, clarify, planning, formula, you see many of the same words, right? Because these are things that we build on. So what the BobCast is about success. And how do you succeed? And so the first thing you do is make a plan, design what you're trying to create, architect it, blueprint it, and spend a lot of time on that. And then you got to dig. You got to build a foundation, right? The 4 maps, says Diane. You might think that I would probably have that somewhere in there, wouldn't you? So, yeah. So these piles that we are digging are what I would call very important. And so, yes, I think that the 4 maps are some of the 4 foundation piles of success. That like when you take the word a plan, every one of these 4 maps requires thinking, and it requires clarity. So what do I really want? Do I really want to build that building? If I really want to build it, when, how, who, where, all those questions that are very basic, but clarity it's a very powerful principle. And then, okay, what could go wrong? That's anticipation, and how do I prepare myself? So what ritual do I have to make sure that during the building that I'm maintaining my equilibrium and my confidence and my clarity, and then how do I make a plan? The task map is about a plan. So what we've talked over the last 4 weeks were the 4 maps of happy, successful people, but it really, I think, it go to anything in success. Now, there may be some things about the 4 maps that I haven't put in. Some of the words that you mentioned here of what you want as part of your foundation. We're not done yet in terms of the piles, but these are, I call the 4 foundation piles of success. And I think they go along with the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. Desire, where does that fit? That fits into clarity. What do you want? Faith, where does that fit? These are the 13 principles from Think and Grow Rich. So the second one is faith. Faith, that means a willingness to take action and to really be a hero, to really launch and to take action and to create it. So that's part of anticipation. It's the anticipation is the hero map. It's like, I'm going to have some challenges and I'm going to figure out how to get through them. I'm going to get through them. So I think that's part of the faith process. Faith. The process, the third principle of Think and Grow Rich is, what do I say to myself? It's self-talk. What do I say? So that's part of clarity, and it's part of the ritual. Actually, it's how do I talk to myself? How do I create in myself this sense of confidence and courage and creativity and commitment? It's, what do I say to myself? What voice do I listen to? Do I listen to my critical voice? Do I listen to my true voice? That's part of ritual as far as I'm looking at. The fourth one is specialized knowledge. So where does that fit in the 4 maps? Well, when it comes to clarity, I need to know what I want. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to get it. And usually how I'm going to get it is I have to get some kind of specialized knowledge in order for me to get it. So I'm going to it probably goes in the task map. What do I got to learn? What team do I have to bring on the group to be able to make this happen? Imagination is one of the principles. Where do I get imagination? I think it goes back to clarity. What do I want? When do I want it? Why do I want it? Who do I want it with? How much of it do I want? How am I going to get it? It's imagining having achieved it already and feeling what it feels like to have achieved it. That's imagination, and that's clarity map. That's big. And so the Think and Grow Rich gives you 13 principles, but with no way of installing them into your life. You read about them and you learn about them, but there's no structure to install them. So the 4 maps is the structure of how you install the 13 principles. I don't call them by the 13 principles in the 4 maps book, but ultimately they're all in there and they build. So imagination, decision is one of those very important processes. And frankly, decision is part of clarity. I got to decide to do it. I got to, and then I've got to decide that I'm going to do it regardless of the challenges. I've got to decide to do it every day and part of my ritual, and I got to go do it in the task map. So this is the structure of how you decide to get things done. Then organized planning is one of the principles of Think and Grow Rich. That's task map. How do you organize plan? And rather than writing a list of the 30 million things you got to do, you're going to write down 3 projects you're going to focus on, and then 3 things you get to do today to make sure those projects happen. So this is organized planning. This is a structure. So he doesn't tell you how to do organized planning in Think and Grow Rich. He just wrote the book and says you got to be organized. And then how do we do that? Well, you figure it out. And a lot of people do figure it out, but this is the 4 maps is a structure for how to get organized by saying no to lots of things. Persistence is one of the principles of Think and Grow Rich. So where does persistence fit in the 4 maps? It's going to fit in anticipation, meaning there are a lot of challenges that are going to come up, 5 major big ones. And are you going to persist through them? Well, that's what heroes do. That's why this is the hero map. And therefore, it instills persistence into you because you're thinking in advance, if I have some challenges, can I persist through them to get to my ultimate ideal lifestyle? The mastermind, where does that fit in the 4 maps plan? Doesn't really fit. I don't see a place where I really focus on that, where we get together with people and share and build. Maybe I need to add a piece to the 4 maps to make sure that the power of the mastermind is there, because could be part of anticipation. That's probably where we'll fit it. And to the champion. So the champion could be a mastermind group that you form to help you get through. There we go. That's where we're going to put it. I'd never thought of this till just now. So the champions is where the mastermind fits. So do you have your mastermind together? There are the champions that help you. Some of them are ones you organize and follow through with. Some of them are instantaneous. They just materialize in front of you and help you get things done as an instant visible champion. And then there are invisible champions too. Good. The principle number 10 is the mystery of sex transmutation. So where does that one fit? What is the mystery of sex transmutation? Does anybody want to tell me what you think it means? That's principle number 10. And that's what Napoleon Hill wanted to talk about.
Would you like a woman to give it a go?
Whomever, shoot, go for it.
Well, this physiologically, as well as the brilliance of Napoleon Hill, was that he believed that instead of dispersing energy, which males would normally do between or after 40, that if that energy was focused on their one most powerful goal, or male or female, if their life purpose was completely focused on one specific goal to the exclusion of and not, I mean, people are married, but some people are not, to the exclusion of frittering away sexual energy, that this sexual energy would be transmuted into a higher drive, a higher spiritual drive, and a higher purposeful drive than could be fulfilled through sex.
Well, what else do we need to add to that? That was pretty clear. In other words, transmuting or transforming a certain level of energy and focusing it on something else, and rather than dissipating, as she said. So I think that's the mystery of sex transmutation, means transmuting that energy to something else and focusing it. I think that's what he meant. That's the way I say it. I usually say it differently. Sometimes I'll teach it. I'll say that I won't go into the mystery of sex transmutation because it requires a long description like we just have had. Like, what the heck does that mean? So I change it into enthusiasm. So and
Entheos, from God, to be inspired by God.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the principle number 10. The brain is principle number 11. So the brain, what does that mean? That's, where do I focus that on the four maps of happy, successful people? Well, the brain is focusing it in clarity. I think when you're really clear and you're focused, first of all, in what you want, and then you deepen it in a ritual. That's when I think your brain gets focused, because you decide what you want, and then that tells you what you don't want. So you get to say no to everything else. And just these four maps help you get focused on what it is you want and what it is you don't want. It's like the clarity map has those three, a plus and a minus. Plus is, what do you want? The minus is, what don't you want? And this is a very important part of the brain stuff, because your brain is filled with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of things flowing through your head, all kinds of thoughts popping up all over the place from your unconscious, your critical voices pounding away at you, your thinking voice. You're asking yourself questions, because that's kind of like the way the brain works. You're asking yourself, see, what do I need to do today? See, that's not the critical voice. That's not the true voice. That's your voice. And you're saying to yourself, under your voice, under your breath, what do I got to get done today? Let's see, did I buy that at the yeah. And so we're constantly just kind of muttering to ourselves. Sometimes the muttering is out loud. Sometimes it's muttering inside our brain, but it's just talking, chatting with ourselves. So, well, if you're listening to it, who's saying it? Well, let's see. Can I say stuff that I hear? Interesting question. Notice I just asked myself that question. I wonder if I talk to myself and I'm hearing it, who's talking, who's listening? Or is it just all part of the same? See, that's thinking. And then you got your critical voice that goes, you can't do it. What's the matter with you? Who do you think you are? The downing of you, the beating you up. As you heard me speak many times, the critical voice is not your friend. It's there. Everybody's got one. And really successful people, the pinnacle of success in every area, they got one too. And they figured out how to harness it, either to turn the volume down or just agree with it, say, yeah, you're right, I can't do it, but watch me. They use it as rocket fuel. The critical voice says, you're an idiot. And they go, you're right, I'm an idiot. I'm going to do it anyway. They just have this way of communicating with those extraneous internal voices. And then there's the true voice, that part of you that just knows you're a winner. You were born to win. You came here born to win. You already won the lottery. You already got the gold medals, all of them. You showed up here because you are an Olympic gold medal winner. Only gold medal winners show up here. And then we get put in families where sometimes that gets beaten out of us, and schooling systems. Kids go to school, they enter the first grade with high self-esteem. They leave the 12th grade with low self-esteem. What the heck happened? Well, friends happened and life happened and families happened and schooling happened and teachers happened, and they leave with low self-esteem, and nobody teaches them how to think. They teach them how to do writing, arithmetic, and all that stuff, the left brain stuff, but they don't teach them how to think. How do you think? They don't talk about voices and how you manage and control yourself. This thing called you. You're an amazing tool, you. So the brain is principle number 11. Number 12 is the subconscious mind. Where does that one fit here in the 4 maps? Well, it kind of is the foundation of all of it, because we're going to have all kinds of stuff, coming up from our subconscious mind. And the real question is, how deep is the subconscious mind? See, the brain works by asking questions, which I just asked you. And now you go, how deep is the subconscious mind? We see an iceberg, and then we realize that the mass of the iceberg under the water is 100 times more than what's visible above the water in the iceberg. But how deep is the subconscious mind? I mean, really, is it true that everything you've ever learned or experienced in life is permanently recorded in your subconscious mind? Every book you ever read, every talk you ever listened to, every television show, every movie, everything is on your hard drive, and your conscious mind has been dumbed down, so there's only a few things that can pop up into your conscious mind. You only got 7 or 8 things you can consciously think about at any time anyway, and then everything else is submerged. And so what is the vault that's in that submerged vault of stuff? We can't remember it, can we? Because it's been years since we learned that. But the real question is it on our hard drive? Is it permanently on our hard drive? Can we access it? Can we call it up? How do we call it up? That's a conversation for another day. But let me just go a little deeper on the deepness of your subconscious mind. What does your subconscious mind consist of? And I'm not just off the top of my head sharing what some of my beliefs are, but I think the subconscious mind is not just what we've learned here on this planet, but it's what we brought with us in our souls and our spirits when we came. And therefore, it's vastly larger than we think it is. It's massive. And we bring it here with our spirit. And you say, well, how can you bring all that content with us wherever we were before we were here? What was it like before we got here? What kind of trainings did we set in? What kind of Zoom calls were we doing before we got to this planet? Where were we able to learn? What was it like? What was the schooling like? A lot of that we don't know. In fact, we don't even know really if there was a pre-existence. And we have people. I am a personal believer of that, but we really don't have any evidence. We don't have much evidence. We have some books of people who, take journeys throughout the universe, and they'll talk about it. But generally, in general principles, the real question is, what is your subconscious? How deep is it? How vast is it? How much stuff is in there? And then we come to Earth, where we get having to focus and siphon all of that experience and living and existence, and we have to funnel it through a brain, which is a physical thing. A brain is physical, and it's, of course, the most complicated thing in the universe. The brain is the most complicated machine in the universe, and it is unbelievable, but it's still just a physical thing. And it's 3 pounds stuff sitting on your shoulders. So the real question is, is there more to the mind than the brain? and how expansive is the mind. But I have to funnel it through a physical thing called the brain. And then the conscious mind only has a few things I get to notice at a time. So how do I get to this depth of me and express it in the world and make success happen as a result of it? These are not, I'm not giving you answers today. I'm asking you questions that I'm still asking myself. But the subconscious mind is one of the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. So we're bringing it up here and asking where I do my subconscious mind stuff is in the ritual. It's is when I do my meditation. It's when I do my prayer. It's when I do my expansive thinking. When I try to connect to the spiritual sources, where I believe I spent a long time with my Heavenly Father and was sent here to this planet to learn some things, and had to go through a human experience to try to discover what those things, what those gifts I brought with me are, right? So that's where I focus on the subconscious mind stuff, because the Four Maps is just a tool to install the 13 principles, essentially. The final principle of Think and Grow Rich is the sixth sense. So he thinks it's important for you to have a sixth sense, not a five senses. Five senses: what I see, what I hear, what I feel, what I taste, what I smell. Those are the five senses, and they're scientifically based. I can test them and I can measure them. But intuition, or the sixth sense, is one way of calling it. Intuition. How do I measure that? And how do I know whether it's true or not? When I get a hunch, how do you hunch something? When you get a hunch, how do you know it's a hunch? How do you know it's the right? And is the hunch a bubbling up from your unconscious or your subconscious of all of the processing of all the information and all the questions you've been asking yourself for a long time, until finally they hunch up into the conscious mind and you go, that's interesting. I hunched it. Right, that was good. So have you had a hunch? And how do you know that hunch was right? And so that's part of how our subconscious mind communicates with us, in my opinion. And then I think it's deeper than that. I think the brain is the hunching mechanism. I think the inspiration part comes from a different source, and it comes from our higher power, where our higher power goes, you need to write your book now. It's time to write your book. That wasn't a hunch. For me, that was an inspiration for me to write nothing down. It was different than a hunch. It was like, it's time to write your book now. Like not tomorrow, now. And so how we communicate with this invisible stuff, whether it's subconscious or spirit, I don't know. All I know is I just got ideas, and I have hunches about it. So where I focus on my sixth sense is when I create clarity. Clarity is about, okay, this is what I want. And then I start drawing my clarity maps. And what I want, ideally, after a while, I go, you know what? I really don't want that. I thought I wanted that, but you know what? I feel there's something else I really want instead. And it's how I replace the things I want to do with the things I ought to do. The things that are just true, the things I should be doing with my life. Because I wanted an Aston Martin. Have you ever seen an Aston Martin? They cost like $150,000, $200,000, and they're beautiful.
I saw one yesterday.
Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they?
I
Yeah.
saw one yesterday, navy blue, absolutely stunning.
Stunning, beautiful car.
Stunning.
I had to have one. You know, it would have been part of my clarity map. Yeah, I want an Aston Martin. And went to this dealership and sat in one. And how much is it going to cost? And how can I fit that into my budget? And, you know, the more I wrote that down as like, oh, this is something I wanted. I told my wife I wanted one of those. It just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. Like, do I really want an Aston Martin? Why do I want an Aston Martin? Well, it's because I like beautiful cars and it's part of what you do when you get rich. You get out to spend your money, right? But I said to myself, you know what? That's a car I could not drive to church. I could not park my car, that car, in the parking lot of my church. I will never drive that car. I will never buy that car. It just was an intuitive thing like, nope, the thing you want, at least for me personally, you will never have. And I'm okay with that. I took it off my list. I see them driving by. I say, what a beautiful car. I will never own one. Never. Because it just isn't right for me, from me and my lifestyle. And so usually when you draw a clarity map, it's about trying to figure out, getting it down on paper so you get to evaluate whether you really want it or not. And most people never do that. They think, look at all the things I'd like to have, you know? But when you write them down every day, you finally go, no, writing it down was enough. I know I can have it if I want it. I don't want it. That's okay. Now, what do I really want? So the clarity map is finding what you really, really, really want. And that's part of sixth sense. It's like, is this the right thing? And is this good for me? And do I get to use my talents, my gifts, my strengths, my values? Do I get to use those things in the creation of the success that I say I want? Intuitively, does this fit who I am? And so the foundation pillars of the four maps are a way of a different way of installing those 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. So that's why I've challenged all of you to memorize those principles, memorize them frontwards and backwards. So backwards, what's number 13? I just taught them to you. So don't you remember them? What number 13 was? What?
Sixth sense.
Sixth sense. Okay, good. And then what was number 12?
You said it was subconscious mind.
Subconscious mind. Exactly. That was 12. Number 11 was?
Brain.
The brain. Okay, good. Number 10 was?
Transmutation.
Enthusiasm. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, number 9.
Mastermind.
The mastermind. Exactly.
Yeah, mastermind.
Yeah. So as we go backwards, the mastermind, persistence, the organized planning, decision, imagination, the specialized knowledge, the self-talk part, faith and desire. These principles backwards and forwards, I got them. And then I tried to apply those principles to the four maps. So it installs them. That's the theory behind what I've been doing anyway, right? So completing then on these pillars, if the pillars were piles driven deep in the ground that we drive in daily in our ritual, that's what the ritual is about, is to drive it deeper and more clear into our head. So clarity, what do I really want? Do I really want it? What do I really want? The anticipation. Am I ready for it? Am I hero enough to get it? Am I willing to overcome whatever it takes to get it? Am I willing to face the dangers out there outside my comfort zone? Ritual. Am I willing to build myself every day? Because compound interest relates not just to money, it relates to you. And we've talked a little bit about this, but the other day I had an aha that, and I've shared it with you before, but I went a little deeper on it, my own thinking. Do you believe in eternity or don't you? Well, if you do, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be a ritual we're going to be doing every day, except there won't be days in the next life. There'll be no time. There'll be only us growing and building. And so I said the other day, if you wanted to take $1 a day and grow it, you have to have compound interest. If you grow it at 0% interest, $1 a day grows into $25,000 because there's no interest. Therefore, in a lifetime, you got $25,000 put in a little bank account somewhere. If you grow it at 3% interest, it's 25,000. If you grow it at, or 75,000. If you grow it at 5% interest, it's $1 a day is 200,000. If you grow it at 10% interest, it's $2.75 million. So compound interest, when you take physical money and grow it at some rate of growth, what do you grow into? What does it grow into? Well, if $1 a day grows into $1 billion in 66 years at a high rate of interest, 20%, what if I apply the same principle to me? Like, if I keep studying and learning here, and if I add more stuff into my unconscious, because it's got to go somewhere, and although I consciously might not think about it, it's in there. And what I brought with me in there, and what I add to it in there, I get to compound that. And if I give myself 1 million years, what do I compound into? It's just like I never thought before till the other day when I was talking to you guys. I thought, well, wait a second. Whoa, what do I grow into? What do you compound into? Well, if you have divine DNA, you know my answer to that. You get to create this kind of stuff, this life, these kind of lives, and that's a pretty deep conversation. So we start with our foundational things, the rituals that we do, and the tasks, which is focusing and doing a few simple things every day to compound those things into wealth in this life, into a skyscraper of wealth in this life. And then where does the skyscraper grow? When you add a floor of the skyscraper for 1 million years. So the 4 foundation piles of wealth, versus this is of wealth now, is the 4 fundamental principles of purpose, I think. So this is the Italian version that I just taught, and it's Italian because that's what I taught them in. I didn't speak it, but it was translated. Passion. What are your passions, and why do you want to do that stuff? What are you passionate about? You can want things. That's a different thing than passion. I can want all kinds of things, but not be passionate about them. But the things I'm passionate about, that comes with your DNA. And that comes with you, in my opinion. And that's deep stuff. And then what are the talents? What are you good at? What are you not good at? My dad was good at numbers. He was an accountant, great at numbers. I'm not that great at numbers, frankly. I'm okay, but not great. It's not really important to me, but for my dad, every day, thousands of numbers every day, bottom lines, tiny little numbers, details. That was his genius. That wasn't his talent, but not mine. So you ask yourself, well, what is your talent? What are you born to do? What are you good at, right? You've heard me teach this same kind of concept in different contexts, but I finally realized, that's part of the foundation that we're building our wealth on. That if we're going to start businesses, they should be based upon who we are, not what we want, but who we are. So the 4 maps, they're habits we build to get things. But these principles are fundamentally who we are. And we in life, we get to discover who we are. What is our talents? People tell us, you're good at that. You're so good at that. It's like a piece of cake. It's just easy. How do you do that? Well, sometimes they'll tell you, well, you invest 10,000 hours and you can get to do the way they do it, right? But why did they invest 10,000 hours? Because they were passionate about it, because it was important to them, because they innately had some DNA around it. And so they eventually became the best of the best. It usually takes time to build, to discover, and to build upon. And therefore, as I taught to the people this morning in Italy, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then entrepreneur stuff that fits who you are. Therefore, when you get up in the morning, you don't have to go, oh, darn it, I got to go make some more money today. You got to go sell some more stuff. And I never liked that stuff anyway. And she's like, that's the way some businesses operate, really. But the purposeful businesses go, you know what? I love to do this stuff. It's not work to me. It's like, I'm good at it. And I don't care about the money. This is usually the way a person who deals with purpose talks. The money's nice and can be important, but it's like, I just want to do what I do. That's what I do. And you'll watch TV shows where people will say things like that. And they're interviewing an expert on some TV show and they'll go, yeah, well, so tell me, what's it like? And say, well, that's just what I do. Well, how did they figure out what they do? Well, they did a lot of things that they figured out they don't do. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. No, I put my fingers on that hot stove before. I'm not going to get burned there again. But stuff that I do, I do this stuff, and why? Because it's important to me. That's what a value is. It's stuff you do because it's important to you. And because you're willing to invest 10,000 hours to create that expertise. Why? Because it's important. As we said earlier on another call, it's a priority. It's prior to everything else. It's a priority. So that's important to me. I'm going to do that. And if you don't do it, it's not important. And you get to the next life, I think, and they'll go, well, why didn't you do that? You had all these opportunities all around you, and there was just so much stuff you could have done. And you say, well, it was important to me. You go, but you didn't do it. But it was really important to me. It was part of my core values. But you did nothing about it. Didn't read a book about it. Didn't go to a meeting about it. Didn't risk it. You didn't invest any money. You can't say it's important and not do anything about it. Obviously not important enough. So these are kind of fundamental, the foundation, I believe. And there are other things like you guys added today. I've got to go through the list that you guys added to evaluate just what other things should we add to the foundation. So this is a quote from Buffett, or about Buffett. When he was 7 years old, he read a book called 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. He's 7. Why is he reading a book titled this when he's 7 years old? Why? Because he likes money. 2, because he's good at it. 3, because it's important to him. It's important to him rather than reading this book than any other book. And it was what he was born to do. It was his destiny, right? So he started selling Coke bottles for extra cash. As an entrepreneur, you'll find entrepreneurs go out and start businesses when they're younger and they start selling stuff. And today, Buffett is one of the major stockholders of Coca-Cola. Isn't that ironic that he sold Coca-Cola when he was a kid and now he owns it, right? So at age when most kids are watching television, spending time in the playground, Buffett was already wheeling and dealing. Ask him about it. He says, I like numbers. Does that fit purpose or what? That was his foundation of his life. He likes numbers. So what else can you say about that? So the foundation, the piles are these kinds of things that I've just been sharing with you. this is the way I interpret the way my life has worked. And it may not be the way your life works, or even the way you have discovered for your life, the way things work. I believe it's our purpose in life to discover what's true for us. And there are many general truths, and there are some very specific truths. And we need to discover general truth and specific truth. The general truth is what I call like a universal primary purpose, is to discover what life is about, and what do I get to go out with life? What am I going to go out with? What do I get to take to the next life? And those who come back from the next life and tell us about it, the near-death experiences, they always say the same thing. All 8 million of them say fundamentally the same thing. There is so much love there, it's impossible to describe. And therefore, I lived in a world where there wasn't much love, and I needed to learn how to love in a place where there wasn't love. And so that when I get to love, I'll realize how valuable love really is. And then life is eternal progression. So till we get to compound ourselves into infinity. So we come here and we say, what do I learn in this life? What did I aha here that I get to take with me into the next life to compound it? And this is what they usually say when they come back. What did you love? Did you learn how to love? Did you learn how to learn? And most people never read another book after high school. It's the last book they ever read. Therefore, they don't learn much, except they learn from experience. But they don't learn book stuff, the knowledge stuff, and they don't read what other people have ahaed in their life. Isn't that what a book is? Is other people have thought through what they have ahaed, and they put it down into their system, and they said, this is the system I used. This is the system that I discovered. This is the system that I make work for me. And so this is what's found in a book. So I get to, when I read a book, I get to condense a lifetime into a couple of hours. And all those words get absorbed into me, into my spirit, and go deep into my vault of me. And so that's why I like to read. I don't like to read because I need to read. I don't feel guilty if I haven't read a book today. And it's not because I feel like it's necessary. It's that I can't not read. I can't not. Every day I got books on my nightstand. I can't not read them. Have to. Because I'm passionate about it, because it's important to me, because it's just, I want to read about other people's talents. What are their talents? Can I absorb some of that? And it's just part of my destiny. It's just what I do. I like to write books, then I like to read them, right? So today, briefly in the time we spent together, I'm talking about the foundation piles of success and wealth. But there's one pile that I think is the most important pile. Then you've heard me talk, and you always hear me talk, frankly, because I can't not say it, because it's part of who I am. It's part of one of my values in my life. Spirit is really, really, really important to me. And I'm going to talk about it. I can't not. And I'm going to read the scriptural words that are sacred to me. I can't not read them. They're a part of who I am. They're not part of everybody's foundation. Everybody has different kinds of foundations. But for me, I want to connect up with my higher power. As I've taught you before, does higher power know which stocks are going to go up tomorrow? And the answer, if God is really omniscient and omnipotent, then yes, God knows which stocks are going to go up tomorrow and which ones are going to go down. So I want to be on that guy's team. However, a little tiny player on that guy's team. And what is the one thing that I know I've learned in my life? You got to give. You just got to give. The more you give, the more it comes back. And you don't give because you want it to come back. You give because that's who you are. You just are a giver. You have that kind of DNA in you. I think all of us eventually do, that we just learn that giving is not a subtraction of wealth. Give 10% and it doesn't subtract your wealth by 10%. You give 10% and it multiplies your wealth by 10% or more. And so you give because that's just who you are. So this comes from a foundation of at least my foundation, that I finally, after taking 73 years to kind of figure out what things are really important to me, and what things am I going to talk about? That's our chat today in what we call the BobCast. And happy to share thoughts that I shared with you today, because that's just what I do. This is just what I do. And if you had a thought or an aha, something that sparked a different learning for you, I'm happy to hear what you thought. What are some of your ahas you got from today? Share, you can come out live and share with me. You can text it in the chat, whatever you want to do. And you have a couple of minutes for sharing, and then we'll jump off.
Oh, chat again. Oh, chat.
Okay, good. So the chat.
Really brilliant, Bob. I didn't realize that you had structured the 4 maps around Napoleon Hill's principles until you outlined it today. And I have loved those principles since I discovered them, and it's been decades. So for you to, and this is learning for me, because Kathy was so gracious to put all the 4 maps on one piece of paper.
Wow.
I have been diligently doing the 4 maps every day. And I'm absolutely stunned at the change in focus and clarity. And I always thought I was really focused. I mean, I had my lists down pat, but it's a deeper kind of clarity that until you actually do those maps, there's something about the kinesthetic thing of writing and drawing, and there's just something different. And now that I understand, because I'm in Tokyo, I'm going to present the anatomy of addiction, which is a structure that I talked about several years ago. But this was the fact that and I didn't see that before you explained it today, that those 13 principles were wrapped in not only the values, but in those maps. And then this other thing that I wrote down, if you're going to have a business, it should be about you. Should be focused around what you're good at. Like, only the Italians can talk about passion and valor. I loved it.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
somebody else, Leo, actually had said the same thing. Leo said that he hadn't noticed that the 13 principles, Think and Grow Rich, were absorbed into the 4 maps that way. I like to simplify things. And so 13 was just too many numbers. It's just too many. So that's why I kind of simplified it. Any other thoughts that somebody wants to share? Ahas, thoughts, quotes?
One thing that keeps striking me is the concept of living beyond our limited time here. My brain is really stretching with that. I love it.
Yep, it's a big thought. It's very big. Eternity is a very big thought. That's why we very rarely think about it, because it's too big. But the way I get around that myself is I like to ponder the universe, and realizing that there are more suns in the universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches and deserts of this planet. There are trillions of suns, and you take a handful of sand and look and count just a handful of sand, and you're going to get several thousand grains of sand in one handful, and you say to yourself, there are more suns and probably planets around many of those suns than there are grains of sand on the shores of every sea. It's unbelievable. I want to be on that guy's team. So he knows something about wealth. Talk about real estate. Talk about real estate. I've never said that before. I've got to write that one down. That was a good one. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Pam. Any other comments you want to share with anybody? Yeah, Leo says he has these 21 days to figure out his 4 maps. Yeah, it takes time. It does. Any other thoughts? We done? We done for today? Put this in the can? All right, everybody. I love you.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you. Thank
Bob,
you.
love you.
Brilliant.
I love
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
you. Love you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.